What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down Jimmy Garoppolo's throwing mechanics, okay? I think he has one of the best motions in the NFL, and it goes to show because he throws very similar to Tom Brady, right? And as you know, Tom Brady's backup served under him, probably learned a lot from him, and we're going to talk about why their motions are pretty similar and just why his mechanics, I think, are some of the best. So here he's going to be throwing this dig over the middle. Now, we're going to talk about this hitch first. So let's watch it full speed, and then we'll break it down. So he takes this quick hitch, drives, and gets this ball out, right? So number one here, when he hitches up, I want you guys to see how he never loses this bend in his legs. What a lot of guys do is when they drop and they take this three-step drop, one hitch, they pop up and they lose this bend in their legs. Their legs extend. They're not sitting low. They're not trying to drive this ball, right? Everything pops up. We want everything to still go this way. We want everything to drive off my legs and drive from my hips to go right at the target, right? So when he hitches up, you can see he still keeps that bend in his legs. He's hitching this way rather than hitching up. A lot of people say 3 steps, hitch up and throw. No, it should be 3 steps, hitch out and throw because we want a momentum going at the target, right? So now I want to talk about why this could be one of the most perfectly mechanically sound throws that we've ever broken down, because we're going to talk about everything that he does. So again, driving off the inside arch of his back foot, right? Pushing off that inside arch, what happens? Shoulders go back, his left arm is somewhere in front of his face. This back ball, you can see it's not in that perfect opposite L angle, but it's somewhere near there, right? He doesn't get to that perfect L, but it's somewhere around that L. That's what I'm talking about, right? Now he gets his front foot down fast right now. How's he striking the ground? He's keeping his toes down because that keeps a slight bend in that front knee. When you keep a slight bend in that front knee, you're able to drive off that back hip. This is coming through, my hip's coming through, and I'm just rotating through rather than hyperextending this front leg or letting this leg lock and having your butt shoot up and having the ball shoot up, and you're either going to miss high or not have enough power depending on how you strike the ground, right? So toes down, keep a slight bend in that front knee. That's the ground force. Push, keep the toes down. Now, when we take this ball back, you can see his hips are going to be rotating him through, and that's what brings the ball through. There's no stress with this ball. We're not throwing this thing with our arm. We're throwing this thing with our legs and with our hips, and you can see his back hip is starting to come through because what's he doing with that back foot? He's almost pivoting off that back foot, getting the bottom of his shoe facing something behind him, right? That's what's bringing this hip through. Now, again, what's coming through first, the hip or the ball? The hip's coming through first, right? They call that chase the hip. You want the ball to chase the hip, right? So now, how do we ensure that we keep torque? You keep this left arm in front of your face. Now, the reason why I was comparing him to Tom Brady earlier is because when you watch Brady throw, that left arm is so similar to Garoppolo's because that's the concept of torque. It's all about ground force, pushing, keeping a slight bend, and keeping that left arm nice and tight, or your front arm if you're a lefty, to keep torque, right? To make sure we keep torque, because I want you guys to try something. When you throw and you're working these hip drills that I do for like a couple reps, swinging that elbow down and opening up. You're not going to be as powerful. You're not going to be as explosive. When you keep this nice and tight, you keep it nice and tight to your frame, you got torque. We got that slingshot, if you will, and that's what slings the ball through. So now we're going to talk about the finish here. Look where he's finishing this ball, right? That's a great finishing position. Left arm's nice and tight, slight bend to that front leg. I love everything about this throw, guys. And now on the finish, where his accuracy comes from is his follow-through. So look where he's flicking his wrist. He's extending his arm. I see a lot of quarterbacks that bend their elbow and they come down over the top. That's not what I want. I want to extend my arm and flick my wrist directly at the target here. You can see flicking that wrist directly at the target, turning that palm out. That's what gets that nice spin for me. And then this ball comes through. Now, this ball was a little bit behind him, right? The mechanics were great, but the only reason it was behind him, guys, is that left leg. And you've seen it in some of Garoppolo's throws. I think he would be the first one to tell you, too, this left leg, his front leg, can be a little bit wild outside wide. One thing that Brady does is when he's throwing to a target, he'll step just inside of it so his hip have a shorter pathway. But guys that tend to have a little bit wider of a leg tend to miss behind guys when they're throwing to that front side of the throw, right? Just because they're stepping behind him, we just want to make sure this front leg maybe is coming a little bit more inside. That's my only critique on it. But overall, very mechanically sound throw by Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's watch this thing full speed one more time. Again, drive, keep everything tight, rotate through nice and smooth with it, okay? So now he's going to be throwing a slant here. So now this one does go in front of him, and you're going to see what I'm talking about with this front leg. So let's watch it full speed, drive, ball's out. Now, we're going to just talk about really just the finish, and everything's pretty similar to what we were talking about before. You see how now it's a quicker route? This stride's getting in the ground quicker. Quick game, guys. How do we get the ball out of my hands quicker? You get your front foot in the ground quicker. That's how you get the ball out of your hands quicker, right? And so he's got that in the ground, and now look where this one is. It's not stepping wide out here. It's cutting off my target, and that's why this thing's going in front of him, right? So now we're going to talk about the finish on the throw, and you can see his back hip's coming through what? Before the ball, slight bend to that front leg, pivoting off that back foot. That's torque. And now when he finishes on this thing again, look, How's he finishing? Left arm's nice and tight to his body. I hear this so many times. Take that elbow and swing it down for power. Incorrect statement. Just plain and simple incorrect statement. You want to keep this left arm nice and tight to your body for torque. Now, what I've also heard is that you shouldn't try to mimic NFL quarterbacks because they're just freaks of nature. That is also completely wrong. You know how many hours these guys put in. You know how much work they put in. This is why I break these guys down, because I want you guys to learn from the best. I can't stand the coaches that think that their way is better than the proven way that guys at the top of their game do. Right? Who's at the top of their game right now? Brady, yeah, he didn't have the year that he wanted, but he's been at the top of the game for so long. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Jimmy G's in the NFC Championship this week, right? Aaron Rodgers. You look at all these guys, what do they all have in common, right? They're all not all just freaks of nature. They all throw the ball different, but they have little things in common, and that's what I'm trying to break down here, guys. So when you get somebody who's telling you to do something than what the best guys are doing, probably shouldn't listen to that guy. And I don't normally say that a lot because I don't like to knock coaches. Everybody's got their different methods, but when you're not teaching something that's proven to work, what are you even teaching? That's just plain up arrogant if you're a coach. I never try to teach something that hasn't been proven to work. I never think that my way's better. You go with the way that is consistent and improves results. And keeping that left arm nice and tight to your body, not swinging that elbow down, is a great way to get torque. Keeping a slight bend in that left leg and extending your follow through is how you get accuracy. Extend your arm, flick your wrist right at the target like you're throwing at a dartboard, and you see when he finishes with his back shoulder on the target, left leg cutting the target off. That's how you rotate through. That's how you're consistent with the throw. Okay, so the next throw, let's watch it full speed one more time, and then we'll break down a deep ball. It's a good shot over the middle on a slant. And I know it looks like a simple slant route. I get it. But it's little routes like that build. When you're just consistent with your motion, you're consistent with the mechanics, you can't just go out there and throw 50 yards downfield right when you walk out there. You got to build and build and build and progress and progress and progress and make sure your motion's tight. So let's watch this throw right now. Great arc by Jimmy G's shoulders. And we're going to talk about the follow through on a deep ball because you see this air that he's giving his receivers. Reason why we want to give this air, and I'll explain this right now. Reason why we give this air is because here's the deal. Man coverage, right? When a receiver's coming off the line of scrimmage, he shouldn't have to be looking for the ball at like 10 yards when it's man. He should be worried about beating this DB right here and knowing that Garoppolo or the quarterback, whoever it is going to put air on the ball, put it on a spot, put it on the 5-yard line, wherever they're at, and he could just go run it down, right? That's the importance of air, and we're going to talk about how to get that today. So, Jimmy G's in the pocket, right? You could see when he's throwing a deep ball, I want you to look at his shoulders. His lower half stays the same. I know we can't see his feet, but we could probably assume that his front leg is down in the ground at this point. You look at his upper half. His shoulders are on that 45-degree angle, right? Because that's what gets you arc. That's what gets you distance on the ball when you're throwing a deep ball, right? So now the mistake a lot of quarterbacks make is they have that arc, and then they come out outside their frame, and their follow-through's low, right? So when you watch Jimmy G come through, and his hip is what brings him to this point, look where he's releasing this ball. Nice and high like he's shooting free throws. His shoulders get some arc, flicks that wrist at the top, and that's what causes this ball to have some arc and be able to come down, right? That's a great job by Jimmy Garoppolo working his deep ball mechanics. Quarterbacks, air is our best friend, okay? Because here's the deal. Let's say we underthrow it, but we put air on it, still giving my guy a chance out there. He could go up and go above the rim and get this thing, right? Air is your best friend. Let's say we could throw this thing when the receiver's at 10 yards, put enough air on it if you have the arm strength, drop this thing at 40 yards and let my receiver go run it down. That's the beauty of air, right? I mean, obviously that's a little bit unrealistic numbers-wise, but if we put air on it, we don't have to sit back in the pocket and wait for our guy to get open. We could anticipate and get it up early. And how we get that is by arcing your shoulders at this 45. Your lower half stays the exact same. Your lower half stays the exact same. Your back hip is what drives you through, and you're flicking that wrist at the top of the motion, turning that palm out to get this ball to turn over for you. Let's watch this throw full speed one more time. That's a great job by Jimmy Garoppolo. Shoulders back, hip brings him up, flick that wrist at the top of the throw. I cannot stress that enough, and that's what's going to give you good air. That's what's going to give this great ball to our receiver, and especially when you got a fast guy like Goodwin out there or any fast receiver. Getting it up early and putting air on it is huge for us. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, guys. And if you're a quarterback and you want to get better at improving your coverages, you want to understand reads, you want to know what offensive plays are supposed to look like against certain coverages, check out that link in the description, guys. Get on my online membership program. We break down 16 NFL defenses, kind of like how I break down mechanics, how I break down route running, but instead it's all football IQ. And guys, please leave in the comments any questions you guys have. I'll see you guys next time.